Hey there, this is Care Monique, and if you don't know who I am the Business Basics Maven. So glad that you decided to join me. If you are new here, please subscribe to my channel, like and share my channel as well as any of the videos that you love. If you aren't new here, thank you so much for subscribing. Don't forget to like this video as well, share this video, and be sure to leave me a comment if you need to. So on my channel, really do all things business basics. So I support ultimately women entrepreneurs, but also all entrepreneurs who can benefit from this information that are in the startup or the repivoting phases of business. And I help them with foundational tools and resources that really help them start their business the right way and ultimately get them on the right track so that they don't fail or don't have to do lots of repivots or starting over. You can see all of my contact information in the bio below. In this video today, I am going to chat with you about my top 10 recommendations for funding your new business. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So my number one way of funding your own business when you first start is going to be yourself. I am a firm believer that if you invest in yourself, then you are more likely to ensure that things get done. And also, it really says something to your community. It really says something to other folks who, if you're interested in other folks investing in you at some point, it says a lot when you put your money up first. And then also, I identify as a Christian, and the spiritual side of me really believes that God affirms us, and God is going to give us 10, 20, 30, 100-fold of the things that we really do in his honor, that we do well, and that we do right. So I believe God gives that back to us as well. So not only do I see this in the spiritual sense, but also I think it's just wise. And whether that's a matter of you going out a little less and saving some of your money, whether that's taking a percentage of your paycheck from your 9-to-5, whatever it is that you need to do, even if it's just a little bit, get started, invest in yourself. So that is my very first way that I recommend that you get money for your business. The second way is going to be family and friends. Now, I'll be honest, this isn't always the greatest way. This isn't always the most fun way. But as long as you're very clear on what it is, whether this is a gift, we like to call it in kind or gratis, oftentimes in the business world, or if it's a loan, be very clear about what that is. You let your family and friends know, hey, this is something that I'm starting. Here's what I want to do. Are you willing to gift into my business a certain amount? Are you willing to do X, Y, and Z? Whatever that is, are you willing to lend me money? Just be clear about what it is, because you do not want to mess up a relationship with your family and friends. And then also, if folks give money to you to start your business, do what you said you were going to do. That goes a long way for folks as well, if you do exactly what it is that you said you were going to do. So that is my second way. My third one is not always my favorite, but it is definitely a good way. It's going to be loans, and in particular, 3 types of loans. So the first one I would say is a traditional bank loan. Ultimately, a traditional bank loan is going to be a little bit harder for a new business to get, especially if you don't have any type of business credit or any type of business history. Ultimately, a lot of banks require that you be in business for at least 2 years, be able to show a certain amount of cash flow coming in and out of the business, and possibly even have banked with them, have some type of reputable relationship with them. Ultimately, you are more likely to get a loan from a bank that has a relationship with you, or you have a relationship with it, in a sense. So just kind of knowing that. And I'm actually going to do another video in general on choosing the proper bank for your business. So be sure to keep your eye out for that. So the second type of lending is the SBA, the Small Business Association. If you live in the U.S., you can access the SBA from your computer, or you probably have a local SBA office, possibly in your area. They have lots of different loans on their platform. They also have just a knowledge bank of things around different types of loan funding, how to acquire loans, do's and don'ts, those kind of things. So I highly recommend that you look at the SBA. And then the third lending option, I would say, is going to be local lenders. There's sometimes like credit unions, or there are sometimes local accelerators, or other types of like business programs that offer loans to local residents or folks within the area. I know there are quite a few places here. Like one of them, for example, in my area is Grand Rapids Opportunities for Women. They have micro lending programs where they give out small loans to women within their network and those kinds of things. And all types of areas have similar programs or something like that. So you would want to look in your particular area. The next one is going to be a line of credit, and a line of credit is pretty simple. It's just kind of like this, as if you were getting a regular credit card for yourself. Businesses can also get lines of credit with a credit card, or sometimes you can get a line of credit with an organization where they say, you know, you can spend this much and then pay us back by this date. Sometimes that runs into something called a net 30, net 60, net 90, where they give you a line of credit in that way. And also, you want to get a Dunes and Bradstreet number, which I'll do another video on that as well. If you are trying to build business credit at some point, you want that to be tracked somewhere. So that's what I recommend when I'm talking about a line of credit. Next, I would say investors. And there are a couple different types of investors, but most commonly you'll see angel investors and venture capitalists. On the other hand, oftentimes they want something in return. So maybe it's a percentage of your business, maybe it's some type of voting rights, maybe it's a stake in your product or service, or maybe they want a percentage of a particular product or service that you're selling. Sometimes there's a give and take. There is a company, it used to be called Clear Co, I believe. Now it's called Clear Bank. They have a program called Clear Angel, where it's a bunch of small business owners and venture capitalists and investors and everyone who they actually give to small businesses. They give capital, in a sense. Well, that's exactly what it is. They give capital to you, and usually I believe their program, you have to have been in business for a little bit. You have to show some type of progress, some type of revenue, because their lines of their capital is based on kind of your sales and your progress and growth. But that is one that I know that is fairly new, and there's nothing in return. You just pay it back. They're not asking for any part of your business. They're not asking for you to change your business model. They really are. There's nothing really invasive about it, aside from tell us what you're doing, tell us what you've made. We'll tell you how much we're willing to lend you. So that is a newer one that I've seen come up, and there are probably other ones just like it. So you might want to do a little research around that as well. The next one, and ultimately my favorite one, is going to be grants. Love, love, love grants, because grants are free money. That's the money you don't have to pay back. So I recommend that you look up grants, as many as you can, but be wise in where you're spending your time applying for grants, because some grants are really great, some are not great. Depending on how much money you need to start your business, that should determine where you're putting your energy. So for example, I saw a grant not too long ago. It was like $1,200, I believe they were giving out, but they wanted an essay, they wanted a video, they wanted to run your numbers. And then there were like, it was a competition. You had to compete for it. And I was like, $1,200, I was like, it's not worth my time because of the kind of business I have. I manufacture shoes. $1,200 doesn't get me a long way for the amount of time it was going to take me to spend on that application, where I could have done 3 or 4 other applications with a better chance of actually getting the funding, if that makes sense. So you just have to make sure that you're doing what's best for your business, because there's so many grants out there that you don't want to spend time and all you're doing is applying for grants. You could totally hire somebody to do nothing but apply for grants or whatever that looks like, but choose wisely how you're spending your time, because they can be lengthy and they can have quite a bit of requirements. The next one is going to be crowdfunding. And crowdfunding, I'm actually going to throw a list of platforms that do crowdfunding right here for you all. These are reputable crowdfunding sites. And what crowdfunding is essentially is where folks just give to your idea. You put your idea out there, you say, this is what I'm trying to do, this is what it takes to make that happen. And usually with a lot of crowdfunding resources and crowdfunding sites, you offer something in return for them investing in your business. And it's usually something as simple as you all get first dibs on when we launch, or you get a certain percentage off of the product, or you have them buy the product up front. Which leads me kind of to my next one, which is my next thought is pre-sales. That is a really good way for you to fund your business as well, especially if you are required, you're going to be required to carry a lot of inventory. If you don't have a lot of space or a warehouse or anything like that, it's a really, really good idea for you to do pre-sales. And what a pre-sale is basically you get your prototype or your sample or whatever, make it great, show folks what's coming, they purchase it ahead of time, then you get it made or completed or whatever and ship it to them. So that's another way to fund your business, or I like to call it blind funding. I made that term up, at least in my head, that is blind funding, meaning that the folks who are buying from you don't know that they're funding your business. They don't know that they're getting their product, but you essentially haven't bought it yet. So that's a really cool way. I still do pre-sales for certain items on my site as well, just because of the cost to ship things, and then also warehouse capacity. I have a very, very small warehouse right now. I have an in-home warehouse, so I don't have the capacity to carry a whole bunch of stuff at one time. So it really depends on the season, the style, all of that. The next one that I'm going to share is non-traditional lenders, or what I like to call equity lenders. They're one of my favorites because I identify as a Black woman, and I have experienced some disparities in the banking industry, in particular as it relates to my business. And equity lending is basically, these are organizations that they fill in the gap for folks, oftentimes whatever that equity mission is that they have. So I've worked with the equity lender before, and their mission was to help minority-owned businesses, those that identified as Black and brown businesses who were not able to get a traditional bank loan for whatever reason it was. They actually fill in that gap, and they help you fund. They give you the funding that you were essentially looking for, based on, you know, some real things, some profitable numbers, making sure that they can also help you. And they do some additional assistance as well too, like workshops and things like that. But equity lending and equity lenders have become kind of my favorite lenders. I think the mission and the motto is beautiful, and also oftentimes they have lower interest rates, so that's a good thing to look out for. If you're in my area, in the West Michigan area, there's one called Rende Progress Capital. They call it RPC. They are an equity lender for small businesses. They're a good one to look into. And if you're in other areas, I'm pretty sure there are some other equity programs that are kind of circling your area as well, so you might want to look into those. My last one is going to be purchase order financing. And upfront, purchase order financing is really going to be for companies that are manufacturing ultimately, or have some type of volume of products or something like that. It's not really going to be good for service-based businesses. And usually what this is these are organizations that say, we're gonna advance you this much money, or this much, sorry, not this much money, we're gonna advance you this much product or this much material. So like construction companies often follow this model, or companies that usually they need something to do the job, and then once they're done with their job, they get this big payout, and then they're able to give back to that purchase order. The other thing about purchase order funding is that oftentimes you are committing to some type of contract. So it might be you're working with them for that, they're your sole provider for 6 months or 3 months or 9 months or 3 years, whatever it is, that anything that they sell that you need, you're going to get it from them. So sometimes it is also that they usually sometimes also give like volume discounts or discounted rates if you're starting kind of a large organization. But this is ultimately for small businesses. So many of you that are watching this are probably not starting some huge organization. It's probably you by yourself, or you and a couple of folks. But you also would still qualify in those lanes. So you can look up what some of those companies are within your particular industry. So that is all of the tips that I have for this particular video, and I am going to run them back right here on the screen for those of you that want a quick snapshot of them. I didn't get super in depth because I wanted this video to be short, so please feel free to leave me a comment below if you have additional questions or want me to elaborate on anything. Don't forget to thumbs up this video if you liked it, leave me a comment, and don't forget to share and subscribe if you have not. Remember that I post videos every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and I will see you in the next video.